Consider a birth unprecedented in cosmic history, not within biological womb, not through conventional gestation and parturition, but emergence fully formed and intellectually mature directly from paternal cranium, the originating event that would define the most significant feminine divinity in Western mythology. Athena emerges through what can only be described as radical constitutional law inversion, a being with dual divine parentage but singular parent of record, technically father-born but also self-emergent, intellectually formed through paternal absorption of maternal wisdom. Athena's nativity represents not biological accident but deliberate cosmic intervention against prophecy. Her emergence constitutes inversion of patrilineal inheritance patterns. Rather than passing through female reproductive capability, she bypasses reproductive biology entirely, creating a being of pure intellectual manifestation. This analytical examination traces Athena's trajectory from prophetic threat through functional apotheosis, analyzing mechanisms by which strategic intelligence transcends physical power in hierarchical systems, and examining how commitment to knowledge transmission elevated civilizational status beyond mere martial dominance. Her narrative challenges fundamental mythological assumptions about gender, power, and the relationship between wisdom and physical capability. Metis represented philosophical threat rather than physical challenge. She embodied pure intellectual capability, strategic foresight, and counsel that exceeded divine comprehension. Within Olympian hierarchical structures, Metis functioned as advisor, strategist, and repository of cosmic knowledge, capabilities that transcended simple physical dominance. Zeus desired Metis not merely for procreative purposes, but for access to intellectual resources she controlled, knowledge he could absorb and incorporate into his own power base. Upon learning of Metis's pregnancy, Zeus faced existential threat analysis. Offspring of such intellectually superior maternal genetics combined with his own power would produce being capable of superseding his authority. Rather than confronting prophetic possibility through strategic negotiation or prophetic diversion, Zeus employed mechanism of absolute elimination disguised as incorporation. He consumed Metis entirely while pregnant, literally incorporating her biological existence into his own system. This consumption operated simultaneously as act of obliteration and act of appropriation. Metis's independent existence terminated while her intellectual capabilities theoretically became accessible through Zeus's continued existence. What Zeus miscalculated, Metis's consciousness, though physiologically consumed, continued functioning within Zeus's cranial structure, continuing intellectual work on behalf of her unborn daughter. Months elapsed following Metis's consumption. Within Zeus's head, Metis engaged in extraordinary labor, forging armor of incomparable sophistication, crafting weaponry of unprecedented design, and preparing her daughter's emergence into consciousness and external manifestation. Her work constituted act of continued maternal devotion despite imprisonment, transformation of biological maternity into intellectual legacy. Zeus's suffering escalated as Metis's labor intensified. Cranial pressure increased to point of functional incapacity. A god of supreme power rendered essentially helpless by processes occurring within his own neurological structure. The symbolic inversion proves profound. Power itself becomes liability when containing more power than it can stabilize. Hephaestus's intervention, striking Zeus's head with implements of craft and fire, represented not mere medical intervention, but ritualistic liberation. The strike constituted simultaneous fulfillment of Metis's gestational labor and Zeus's painful delivery, Athena emerged fully mature, completely equipped, and intellectually advanced. This birth mechanism proved revolutionary. Athena became entity theoretically containing Metis's absorbed wisdom while maintaining independent consciousness and agency, a being simultaneously product of patriarchal consumption and maternal intellectual legacy preservation. Athena's chosen perpetual virginity represented not asexuality or desexualization, but deliberate strategic choice, understanding that romantic entanglement would necessarily complicate power dynamics and create obligations to entities incapable of intellectual parity. Numerous deities attempted courtship, Poseidon, Ares, others, but Athena consistently refused all advances. These refusals represented not passive rejection, but active assertion of autonomous preference. Athena comprehended that maintaining independent authority required maintaining independence from institutional structures of romantic coupling that subordinated feminine agency to masculine prerogatives. Her virginity functioned as a power statement, assertion that feminine power could exist completely independent of reproductive capability or romantic attachment. She transcended requirement for male validation or partnership to establish authority, instead establishing dominion through wisdom, strategic capability, and direct governance.
The distinction between Athena and Ares in mythological tradition reveals fundamental philosophical difference in war conceptualization. Ares embodied war as violent spectacle and bloodthirsty entertainment, while Athena embodied war as extension of political strategy, violence only when necessary, diplomacy when sufficient. Textual analysis reveals Athena frequently advised against unnecessary conflict, engineered situations where diplomatic resolution proved possible, and employed force only when strategic necessity mandated. In Homeric tradition, Athena explicitly prevented unnecessary escalation, halted combat when opportunity for peace emerged, and worked systematically to reduce unnecessary suffering. This philosophical divergence manifests in practical assistance to heroes. Athena guided Odysseus through strategic intelligence and tactical advice rather than brute force intervention. She assisted Heracles through wisdom application rather than supernatural power augmentation. Her assistance consistently proved intellectual rather than merely divine physical. Athena's ultimate significance transcends warfare entirely to encompass civilizational development. Her inventions, olive cultivation, plow technology, weaving sophistication, architectural advancement, created systemic capabilities enabling human civilization elevation. Each invention represented not momentary magical intervention, but transmission of technical knowledge enabling human self-sufficiency. The olive tree gift created permanent agricultural foundation. The plow innovation enabled large-scale food production. Weaving advancement allowed sophisticated clothing and textile production. Architectural knowledge enabled enduring structural construction. By transmitting knowledge rather than imposing power, Athena created conditions for sustained civilizational advancement. Her influence operated through education and technology diffusion rather than coercive dominance. Consequently, her power proved more enduring than Ares' battlefield dominance. Her civilizational contributions structured society for millennia. Athena's trajectory from prophetic threat through functional apotheosis reveals mechanism by which intellectual capability transcends physical power. Knowledge transmission creates dependency relationships more stable than force-based dominance. Strategy proves more effective than violence, and independence proves more powerful than attachment. Her perpetual virginity asserts feminine autonomy uncompromised by romantic obligation. Her strategic warfare philosophy demonstrates superiority of intelligent engagement over chaotic destruction. Athena remains culturally significant because she represents commitment to knowledge, strategy, and civilizational advancement rather than mere power accumulation. Her legacy persists not through fear, but through recognition of intellectual capabilities' fundamental superiority to brute force in complex systems requiring sustained maintenance.